Hello, what day is it? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to my office. I just rearranged my office so that I could start doing more lives in my office. And I've got like my annual calendar over there. I've got this amazing, beautiful picture here that I got at IKEA. And I've got Grant Cardone, his flyer back there, his poster. He gave me like 5 of those when I was in Florida with his team. And one of them says, "Who's got my money?" The other one says, "Success is my duty." And another one says, "Don't be a little bitch." And one of them says 10x, and the other one says, what does the other one say? I don't know what the other one says. It's not hanging up in my home. The one I have in my basement when I'm walking down the stairs to go work out says, "Don't be a little bitch." Yeah. So anyways, that's not really self-love talk, but sometimes you gotta put some hustle into some fire under your butt to get the things done. I think that this is actually a good point because Jamie made a comment yesterday on the private group page of self-love is like a sticky subject because she's like, but if I love myself, then I won't do the things that I need to do. I'll just be kind of like lazy and I won't do the workouts. Well, there's a balance, right? There's a balance between self-love and action and like really honoring your body and honoring your goals. So we'll get into that. So fire your questions away. I'm gonna pull up my notes here and we will get started. Man, I could talk on this for decades. Decades. Self-love. I think that this is honestly like, it's just a never-ending well that we have to like really just think about, how are we loving ourselves? And hang on a second. What are we doing? What are the actions that we're taking? What does self-love really look like? So I want to start off with a story for myself and what this looks like for me. I was the youngest of 3 in my family, and I was picked on quite a bit. And just by being the youngest, I was just picked on, and so did not have a dad growing up in the house with me. And when I got that first taste of like love from a male, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And of course, like felt madly in love with the process of love, like loving relationships. And, that happened really young, actually. I was very playful and very much just like into that like dynamic of like man, like boy and girl and fun and energy. And like my very first real love was this boy that I just had this massive crush on. And come to find out, we didn't know this. We were 10. I was 10 and he was 11. But I just had the biggest crush on him. And we would sit there like eyeball to eyeball, and we'd be looking at each other, and we'd be staring into each other's eyes, and like he'd be looking at my eyes, and he's like, "You have a diamond right there in that part of your eye, and there's another one." And we would just stare at each other, and just like, I remember laying there, I was like 10, I'm like, "Kiss me, kiss me." Kiss me. He never kissed me. And like he went off to junior high and I was in elementary, and we weren't really friends after that. Like we were, but we weren't. And come to find out, in high school he was gay. And I was like, that's why he never kissed me. Thank God he's gay and there's nothing wrong with me. I was like, okay. But so relationships happened, and then I got into like some weird dysfunctional type patterns because I really was never modeled that kind of love. And I attached love to relationships, and I attached it to being from a man. So for a very, very long time, my relationship with love was more, it's in a man and it's outside of me. And not really knowing that I was doing that, yet knowing that I was doing that, but not really understanding the depth of what that was doing in my life. So, you know, I dated, I went to college. I had this idea that I was going to meet my husband in college and that I would end up getting married to him. And he had a look, he had this look. And I met this one guy in college, and I was like, the guy that I had this vision of he was tall, he was very smart. That's what I like. I just like smart men who are kind and gentle. And I met someone who had the dark hair but didn't look like that vision. So I thought, well, maybe he's the one. And the one, okay? The one. I want you to write that down. The one. Okay. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget to circle back on this, because I have to circle back on that. Okay. So he and I liked each other so much, that fiery passion, just whew. And then I wasn't actually going to that college, and so I ended up transferring because I wanted to be near that guy. I thought he was the one, right? And you know, when I went down there, he was dating somebody, and then I started dating somebody, and then when he was single, I was not single, and then when I was single, he wasn't single, so it just never worked out until our senior year, and then finally we got together. And then I was like, okay, so we're together now. What are we going to do with this? And he was like, I'm moving to LA and I'm going to be an actor. And I was like, wait a minute. Where do I fit in? Where do I fit in this story? And I didn't. And so I was like, oh, okay. So he's not the one. And then I went to Finland. I studied international marketing in Finland, and I have to tell you, what a magical moment in time that was for me, is because I went off to do my own thing. This is one of those moments in times, it's like a God wink, that it was that was something that I did for me. Not because my mom told me to go overseas, and not because the school told me. It's because I always wanted to go overseas. You know, I have this saying for my yoga teachers that come into my yoga school. I always tell them in day one, I'm like, this is your choice. This isn't your mom pushes this on you. This isn't you're doing this because this is the thing to do. You're doing this because you want to. Your soul is saying, yes, that feels good. Yes, I like the way that feels for myself. I want to do that thing. I feel like there's something in that is for me. And so I'm going to do that. And so that was what going abroad was for me. There was that element of curiosity, and just I needed to go. I just knew that I needed to go. And honestly, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire life. International marketing. So I have a marketing degree from Indiana University. I switched to the business school after nutrition science, and once I got my undergraduate in nutrition science and psychology, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a doctor. I was going to be an eye doctor, and I was like, I'll just do the business school. So I switched and caught up through summer school, and then went to Finland in the summer. It was a 12-week program, and caught up again doing summer school there, and graduated on time. And so then I got into the corporate world, and then I worked, and you know, I started to learn what anxiety was and what stress was. And that was okay, I already had a little bit of a fitness, because I grew up in sports, but I never had a real consistent routine. I would go running, and so my book talks all about this, is where I was very dysfunctional with food, but when I was in nutrition science, I learned so much about how the body burns the fuel that we eat. So it was oh my God, I'm eating the wrong foods. I grew up eating the wrong foods. No wonder my digestion is awful. No wonder I can't poop. No wonder I have all of these skin issues. And what other things? I had those bumps on the back of my arm. I had pimples. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I had digestive dysfunction. And I was overweight. I was thick all the time and nothing would fix it. And then like once I learned the nutrition science, I was like, oh my God, okay, now I get it. So I changed things about how I ate and my body started to change. I didn't necessarily add in the figureFIT stuff until much later. So for a very long time, for I would say a good decade, I was doing the wrong kinds of workouts. I was running all the time and killing calories and not building the metabolically active muscle tissue. So I just wasn't doing the right things. Okay, and then so the first thing I did was found a gym when I graduated college, and I would go to the gym and I kind of do the things that I knew to do. And I would still go running, and I'd still, but here was the thing, you guys. When I was just me, pursuing my goals and my visions, so I had a job, but one of the very first things I did when I was working, I was like, there's gotta be more to life than just working. And I remember the first time I went to a happy hour with my new coworkers, I was like, they're like, we're gonna meet there 5:15 or 5:30, and I was like, okay, let's go. It's something to do. And I remember going there, and I remember looking at like the man who was there, who was like trying to get me to go to the what was it called, it was near St. Louis. It's like some big party place where they go to the boats. I forget the name of it. But he was trying to get me to go there. And one of my mentor, she was a mom. She was married. She had 2 kids. She's like, you are not taking my Lizzie. Liz, you're not going. And I was like, okay, I trust her, you know. But I probably would have gone had I not had that mentor to say, no, you're not going there. That's just filth, and it's gross, and it's drinking, and it's just like, you know, like it's like Mardi Gras on the water. And she's like, no, you're not going there. And I was like, okay. So I remember that day being a really big game changer for me, going, okay, I have a choice today. I get to choose that life, happy hour, or at the end of my work day, I can go to the gym and I can go do something that is actually loving for my body, for my future, and for my health. And being that when I was really young, I always wanted to have that like Baywatch beach body, I knew that going and getting fat was never my destiny and was never in the cards for me. It was never a desire. Nobody ever wants that. But the thing is, you gotta be objective and you gotta look at the things that people are doing that makes them look that way, okay? For example, we went to the beach yesterday, this past weekend, and I just was looking around. I was like, this is disgusting. Our American culture is so gross that people just throw a bunch of processed foods in their bag, and they just sit there like baking, eating fatty foods, chips and more chips and soda. And I was like, my God, you know, I'm so glad that, because the moment you have the chip, you guys, they're right about you can't just have one. You can't. So it's better off to replace, take healthy foods, take the things that are good for you, and really just make the choice of like, how, I was talking to one of my clients today about statistics on obesity, and he's like, everyone is fat when I go to these baseball games. Everyone. And I was like, I know. And he goes, the statistics are wrong. He goes, I swear it's probably 90% of our population is obese. And I said, you're probably right. You know, and it's like, you guys, this is where really like being objective and being real with yourself and going, what do I want to look like? And you know what? It is totally up to us to make the choice, to make the right choice for the food we want to take for the future, and really go, is this, okay, you know, the best thing is guilt. The best trainer is guilt. Guilt and shame and feeling awful and crummy with your body, that's the best trainer. So when you've done that and it made you feel that way, you have to learn from it, because once you continue making the same choice, it is no longer a bad decision. It's a choice. It's a bad habit. So it's up to us to really choose, okay? So I made the choices, you know, early on to really just go to the gym and to eat as healthy as I could. And then I got pregnant and I had my son. That story is also, I think, kind of in my book. But my son's dad didn't want to have a baby. And I was like 24, no reason not to. Have a college degree, you know. I mean, if I would have had an abortion, you know, a lot of people do that and they justify those decisions. And my mom had a child when she was younger that she gave up for adoption, and that alone hurt her so much. And she gave him up for adoption, and she always wanted to meet him and to know him and to see him, and she had so much guilt. And so I just remember seeing that and thinking, I don't know if I could handle that. So at that time, I just was like, I can't. So I had our son, and when my son was like 5 months, or when I was 5 months pregnant, the dad was like, okay, I'm going to be a good dad. My parents weren't around either, so I'm going to be a good dad. I'm going to be there for our son, our daughter, or whatever we have. And I knew early on that I was 3 months in that I was having a boy, so he was like excited that he was going to have a boy. So we just did not have a good relationship during that time. When he finally, he broke up with me at three months to really like push me, or like 2 months in to really push me to have an abortion. I didn't. So then he broke up with me, and then I was alone in St. Louis for 2 months going, what the heck am I doing? And I'm going to do this alone, and oh my God. And then I moved home back to my family so I could be close to my family. And then around like 6 months, he's like, okay, I'll be a good dad. And so when my son was born, he saw our son a little bit here and there. But then I decided to move back to St. Louis when he got out of the military, because here's what happened. A week into my pregnancy, he decides to volunteer and leave the town that we were both living in and go serve in the Air National Guard. So he left, and I was pregnant. And he left, he took the money that he was offered, and he left. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I was like, this is ridiculous. And I moved back to my family. And then during that, it was the first year of my son's birth, he was like, this is, you know, I'll be there, I'll be a dad, I'll be a good dad. So I, at one point in time, thought it might be a good idea to really bring both parents together. And I moved back to St. Louis, but right before we were about to move in together, I just had this moment where I was like, we have been fighting like cats and dogs. I think that maybe we ought to live in the same town first before we live together. And that's what I did. And we just ended up, you guys, it just did not work out. I didn't have a lot of respect for him. You know, when I was pregnant, he did all these things, like he would go to the strip clubs, and he would drive from Duluth, past me in Indiana, down to St. Louis, and go out with his buddies. So there was just a lot of you know, like I just didn't have any respect for him anymore, and it just didn't work out. So when my son was 3, there was a lot of these moments where I was like feeling like this is just not the way this is supposed to be, you know, and I need to be around family. I was alone, and he ended up meeting a girl that he got engaged to, and it would be his weekend, and he'd put me off. You know, he would say, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to take our son. It's not like you have anything better to do. And because I didn't know anybody in that town. So I was like, that's nice. So it just kept happening. So I was like, I'm moving. So again, I moved back to Indiana and set up my life. And this is when it really started to change for me, because I was like, it is up to me. It is up to me to decide who I want to be and to create the life that I want to create. And when I moved back to Indiana, I got a good job. I lived with my mom. I had my house built, so I lived with my mom when my house was being built. Then I ended up moving into my house a year after we moved back. Been here ever since. had really great jobs, but working in the corporate world. And I loved my jobs. Obviously I love it. I'm a career woman. I'm very independent. I'm very much a powerhouse when it comes to having goals and setting them and committing to them and reaching them. That's just naturally who I am. Very independent and very passionate when I have a mission. So those are like my top 5 strengths. Doing work that is significant, and having goals. Like goals, here's the thing about goals. You set the goal that's big, and you got to create the you that needs to happen in order to reach that goal. So what I mean by that is like you're not yet this person. So you've got to step into the shoes and start walking as that person to get you there. Because it's almost like this future self is coming back, grabbing this you, current you, and pulling you forward. You create a vacuum, okay? So, long story short, dated here and there. Just my dating life has never been the best. Never have I had the best beliefs around men until like this happened. So here's my self-love journey. Back in 2013, when my son actually was 10, went to live with his dad in St. Louis. I said, yes, you can go live there. And so we tried that for a while. My son's now back. He lived there for 4 years. But this was like an opportunity for me to just be me again. And I dated this guy, you guys. I filled the empty void with this guy who was 8 years younger than me and Serbian. So he was fun and he was exciting. There was a big language gap barrier, not only cultural barrier, but a language barrier and an age gap, okay? So fun, but so wrong on so many levels, and I knew it. I just knew it, and I just kind of knew it was more for like, it should have just been more for fun than actual like really dating. And at the end of that relationship, I was like just tired of the just dating, and I was like, everyone I know is married. And I thought, you know, I'm not alone in this. I know that this is kind of like everybody's thing. People want to have a spouse. They want to have a partner. And I was like praying and crying after this breakup. And I was praying. I was like, dear God, please send me somebody to love. I have all this love to give, and I want to give it to someone. And in the middle of my tears, in the middle of that moment, I heard with a very, very still, small voice, no. No, you need to love yourself. And it was like so different from my energy. It was like I was crying and frantic, right? Like, oh, send me. And it was like, no, you need to love yourself. And I stopped crying. That woke me up. And I was like, and I'd already had my business, Solace, my yoga studio. I'd already worked in the corporate world, at nights and weekends, created the business plan, created the website, did all the things to pursue my dream, and, you know, ran myself ragged, obviously, but not really feeling like I was, and created the thing, created the business, did the thing. And I was sitting there going, but I thought I did. I thought I did love myself. I thought I was loving myself. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, how am I not? You know, I'm doing the right things. I'm eating the right foods. I'm working out. I'm meditating. I'm praying. I'm doing all the right things. But I'm not. I'm giving my power away to a man outside of me to love me, to make me feel worthy, to make me feel good about myself. I didn't know this then, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm going, maybe, then I start saying this. I'm like, maybe I ought to go to church more. Maybe I ought to meditate more. Maybe I ought to, and I'm just blah, 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 type A, doer, control freak over here going, maybe I ought to do all this stuff. And I hear the voice again in the midst of my madness go, I am you. You need to love yourself. that shut me up, because I have heard that still small voice, and I've always associated it with God outside of me. And it was in that moment when the whole world went whoosh into me, where everything made sense, but it didn't make sense yet. But it made sense. Like, logically, it made sense. Like, okay, I am the divine manifestation of God. Even the Bible says this. God is in us, as us. We are one with the Holy Spirit. Okay. So for a very long time, when I was young, I was in, I didn't grow up in a religion. I decided in college, when I was going through this breakup, to become a Christian and to learn about that. And I dove into that world. I read the Bible so much, really loved that feeling of connection to the Holy Spirit. But I still prayed at that time to an outside God. And as a single mom and as the sole provider of my life, there were so many unanswered prayers, so many just things that religion wasn't helping, okay, in that way. So I knew that there was something more that I was still missing, and wasn't quite sure what that was. So in that moment when I heard, I am you, so many things rushed in. Like, oh my God, even Jesus in the Bible says, I am the way. Not him, not Jesus is the way. Jesus' way is the way. What he did was the way. To become one with the divine was the way. And then, like, the movie Eat, Pray, Love popped into my head in that moment, where Elizabeth Gilbert is talking at the end, and she's like, the divine lives in you as you. Here to experience life and to flow and to be and to have these amazing experiences. And honestly, this is why I always say, like, there's no point in it all. Like, we think there is, but what stacks up? What adds up? The only thing that really stacks up and adds up is love. It's the good feelings and the way that we serve each other and the way that we truly connect with one another. And so I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Okay, God is me. And you, and you, and you, and you, and all of us. But we have no idea, because we're praying to an outside God, and we're giving all of our power away and to something else, like a puppeteer in the sky that is making all of this happen or not happen. But if you think about, like, shootings in schools, there is no God. There's no puppeteer that is doing that. That is human dysfunction. That is human problems. And that is human error of thought. Being disconnected from our truth. That's what that is. So, you guys, it just was like, holy smokes, this is bigger than I realized. And so I decided in that day, in that moment, that I was going to take a year off of even dating, like off of even thinking about dating. Like, I gotta figure this out. What is self-love? And I heard it, I heard the words, I am you. The second time, this is what it said. I am you. You need to love yourself. And I was like, okay, there's just so much I don't know. And I have a command from the higher God, whether you're in me or outside of me or wherever you are, that I need to love myself. And I thought I was, but clearly I'm not. So what's this look like? So I actually just kind of was like, all right, I'm committing. And you guys, this is why I am so big on the process of committing to a decision. Because the moment you commit, you have turned your back on all other options, and you are committed to a process. You are committed to something new, okay? And you don't even know what that looks like, and that's okay. We're not supposed to. But the commitment is what matters. You got to commit, and then you got to be willing to take the journey and to go, okay, what does this look like for me? What am I going to do next? And so for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to commit. I'm not going to date. So I'm taking all the dating off the table. That was step number 1 for me. Step number 2 for me, and actually I wrote a book proposal around this and I've submitted it to a couple book publishers. And the journey, my book was called I Am You. A Return to Wholeness or something like that. And I haven't done anything with it. The book hasn't gotten picked up, but I have this process. I have this outline of what I went through in that year. And what I did is I went through, and I'm probably just going to turn this into an e-course. What I did is I went back and I looked at my history of why I made the decisions I did. When was the very first time that somebody else's opinion of me meant more than my opinion of me? When was the first time that I lost myself or my self-confidence because of somebody else's value on me and what I felt they valued me as? You know, who was the first boy I ever loved? And I went through the roster. I went through, okay, I liked this guy. Who could I remember? Like, what did I like about him? Why? How can I give myself that I thought he gave to me? That's self-love. So I started going through the different like scenarios and like, okay, this person was this kind of way. I really liked this about, you know, this friend or this person that I dated. So do I have that in me? I liked it because I liked that personality trait. So how can I bring more of that into my own world, my own life? And so a year went by. I was flying high. I'm not even gonna lie. I went into like massive self-love, massive just the depth. That's why I said this depth of the well of self-love is so untapped. And dude, I called you dude. I fell out and I gave my power away again, even after all that. So this is not a one-time thing and it's over. This is like, you got to know these tools and you got to recommit to self-love and what does it look like. So for me, I just went through my journey and I went back and I was like, let me pull this up. Let me actually pull this up. My son gave me his cold. Oh, it's awful. I don't have it as bad as he does, knock on wood, but I'm feeling it right now. All right, my book title was almost going to be No Sex for a Year. And I went to a writer's workshop and the writer's retreat coach was like, okay, just so you know, the title of a book has to be a benefit and a solution. That's not going to be a benefit to a lot of people. I was like, yeah, you're right. So, yeah, that didn't happen. Okay, so loving yourself, looking back. Here's what I did. I looked back, and then I looked at special relationships. Who did I make more special than other people? I looked at, this one. This one was big for me. There was a scripture in the Bible that really rocked my world back in the day before I ever even had my son, that was Paul saying to the congregation, don't get married. And it rocked my world because whenever I went to church, all they talk about is marriage and the family unit. And, you know, I'd never heard don't get married. And when I read that, it rocked my world because it said, don't get married. And I tell you, because when you do get married, you actually can't pursue God's will for your life or your own purpose for your life as much as you can if you're fully devoted to just God, because you have to put your spouse in front of you, and you have kids, and you have other obligations instead of just God's obligation for your life, or that one calling on your life. And whether you believe that or not, or whether I believe that or not, I mean, there's so many benefits to marriage, and then there's benefits to being single. So that was one thing that really rocked my world back in like 2001. Following your bliss, living water, masking the pain, waking up. What are we judging? Thinking something's wrong with you is something that I went through. I thought something was wrong with me. And then I started looking at how codependent people were. And as a single woman, I started looking out into the world, into the dynamic that is happening in the world of codependency and attachment. And in yoga, one of the root sufferings is attachment. And so I went from, the Christian world into the yoga world, not because, and just so you guys know, yoga is not Hindu. Yoga predates Hinduism and Buddhism. It is over 5,000 years old. It's older than Hinduism. It's older than Buddhism. It's older than Christianity. It's the path of yoga that I teach. So self-love and was really the path of yoga. And so I started to kind of see like, okay, so attachments in any form are the cause of suffering. Attachments to a lover, attachment to money, attachment to a body, and attachment to food, attachment to drugs, attachment to whatever. This is the cause of suffering. And that is one of the first steps on the path of yoga is non-attachment. How do we live as fully whole individual beings and not get so attached to things that it disrupts our peace? And that was a big one for me because that wasn't my native language, right? So it was like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn here in this path of yoga. And so the poses, I asked on Facebook the other day, what is the number one thing that helps you to focus your mind? And what a lot of people don't realize is yoga is the oldest tool in the book to help you focus your mind, because you're moving with your body and the breath is synchronized, and you're starting to get out of your head into your body, which gets you into that feeling place of what you're feeling, where you're feeling it, those tight places. But your mind, yoga literally means unity. So it unites your mind and your body and your soul together so that you become one. And that's the true goal of yoga, is unity. And that is the goal of humans. We want to become one with the divine. And so there's a lot of people in the world that Christians or Baptists that have said yoga is like off limits. And I'm like, if they only really knew what the goal is, and it is literally to embody that divinity within and to become one with it. Because we know, everybody knows, I believe, the Holy Spirit and the voice, that still small voice, whether you hear from that voice a lot or not. It is a beautiful recognition of truth, and yoga's purpose is to help you connect to that more and more and more, and to know what that means and know what that feels like. And so the path of yoga is all about, like the first couple parts of yoga is like the non-attachment, the taking care of your body, being kind, being ethical, and then doing the poses, breathing, getting into like the sensations, focusing your mind. As you focus your mind, you meditate, and then meditation leads you to that unified state with the divine. And you just kind of drop into this no place, but it feels so good, and it's just this ultimate peace. That's why I called my yoga studio Solace, because solace means peace. And so that's the name of my school too, Solace Yoga School. It's my goal is with anything I'm doing is to help you find that internal peace, that internal connection to self-love. Hang on, my phone is acting weird. What is it doing? Recording. Okay, good. Record. It's saying recording. It should be. I'm live. So the self-love thing is, this is just really, really powerful. So questions, post them, but I'm gonna pull this sheet up and just kind of talk about more about self-love and what does that look like. I mentioned earlier I was going to circle back on this, and I was going to circle back on the one, because oftentimes we give our power away to so many things outside of ourselves, whether it be a relationship, a person being the one, or a goal, or a new car, or a new house. We get really attached to this idea of things that we sometimes lose ourselves in these things. Are you with me? Is anybody else, if you have gone through this, post below and share with me and the rest of the group how you have lost yourself in certain circumstances, and then also what you did to get yourself back. Okay, so this is, like I said, I want you to take a moment. I'm going to read some of my notes here, and take a moment to pause and really begin to reflect on your life and what has worked for you and what hasn't worked for you. And in that process of really stopping and looking back at your life, you can ask yourself some of these questions. Here's some questions to write down. Have I fully honored my life experiences that have made me who I am today? How can I honor myself more and really take forward these lessons that I have learned? Because I believe that we end up getting amnesia, and we often forget, these big lessons that we need to retain. Another one is, have you honored your own choices that have gotten you to where you are today, with full love and gratitude in your heart for what has gotten you to where you are today? Have you honored those heartaches? Have you forgiven yourself? That's a big one, and a lot of people might brush over that, and they might say, yeah, I have forgiven myself, but have you really? Have you forgiven yourself? From this place of really looking back at your life, you can say, this is where the truth is. This is where I need to work. This is where I constantly need to hold myself accountable, and even maybe have accountability partners. And you also really begin to learn about yourself, and where your biggest weakness is. And you begin to learn what honors you and what's not honoring you. So here's a couple things about self-love. When you love yourself, you don't betray yourself. You don't. When you love yourself, you take care of your body. You actually want to take care of your body. You want to eat the right foods. You want to do the workouts. You want to fix your health issues. You actually are proactive about eating the right foods, doing the workouts, setting yourself up to win, which I believe is our next module. You're proactive about how you want to live your life. And you know that you are this divine, beautiful, and amazing person that gets to decide who you want to be. You get to decide, and then you get to create yourself. That's the most beautiful thing about this life. And I think as all of us adults, as children, I don't think you really understand that. I think sometimes you think that there's this higher destiny. But if you really look at your life and you take that honest assessment as to what has gotten you to where you are today, you see that you are the creator of your reality. You are the manifester of your goals and your dreams. And it has been the whole time, the one to create your amazing moments in life and or the things that have not worked out for you. I had that big, huge wake-up call one day a couple years ago when I was in my bathroom, and I had prayed and prayed and prayed, and then this just one day I snapped, and I was like, I am the way. I am. That's what it means. I am the way, the truth, and the light. I am the way to my destiny. I am the way. So I look at prayer. This is recent, you guys. It's very different now. I look at prayer as tapping into the divine within you. And prayer is almost like a call on your higher self. If we're one with God, and here's a couple Bible passages that will confirm this. John 14:20 and Psalm 82, and there's so many more. Those are just a couple. Let me give you more. I got more. John 7:38. No, that's for my son. But John 14:20, Psalm 82, Jesus is telling us we are God. God's in us. And this is the one thing that Jesus spoke of, and he was so ostracized because this was his truth. This was the truth that Jesus spoke. And there's so many spiritual teachers that say there was only one person who originally woke up, but now there's many. There's many, many teachers who have awoken to this truth. And you guys see this manifestation out in the world today. Manifest your dreams. Manifest, pray as if it's already done. Give thanks to the universe that is already done. Give thanks to God that is already done. So I don't look at this as in an egotistical way, and that was for a long, long time. That was the thing that was really sticking with me. I was like, how do we not get our ego involved in this? And I just kind of look at it like, this is the truth. There's no big puppeteer. I believe that God is in every single thing, every one of us, and we are either tapped in to this reality and this truth, and we are in connection with the higher vibration, which that higher vibration is not just within us, it's outside of us as well. And it's like this big web. And as you're tapped in, you're connected to other sentient beings, if you will, who are also tapped in. And that's where manifestation occurs with people outside of you, with the divine, with the world, or you get like a God wink. I still believe in all of that stuff. And I still fully move in that direction, that we're part of something bigger. And it's not just like only us, but that unity I was talking about that happens within us is also happening among us as we tap in. And actually, there's a book out that I just started reading, and it's called, what is it called? Oh, it's on my phone. I'll have to post it below. Evolving something. Evolving consciousness or evolving something like that. I don't know. I'll post it below. But it's actually confirmation that all of this is actually what is truth, is because our cells, when we're at that higher vibration, they literally are synced with other cells that aren't even in the same sphere, that aren't even in the same space. So there's so much to this that we don't yet know. But what I do know is that self-love is a tapped in, turned on thing that has you fully connected to your higher self. And it's a practice that we have to practice. It's a knowing that we need to know, and we need to fully dive in all of the time. Having a process. This is huge. These millionaires, they all are talking about their morning routines. They wake up, they do mantras, they speak, they affirm the gratitudes in their life. They affirm the goodness. Joel Osteen says, you don't have because you're not affirming your life. You're not affirming your greatness. Wake up and say, I am a masterpiece. Today is going to be a great day. I look forward to this day. Quit the complaining and start affirming. And as you affirm this greatness, it flows through you. You connect to it. You're so tapped in and turned on that it is literally flowing through you. And as it flows through you, you want to just connect it and give it to people. You want to love on other people. You want to share with other people. You're inspired. It is this bigger, it's expansion. That's what's happening. It's happening through you. Just like Elizabeth Gilbert says, God is in you, as you, and that love, if God is love, that love has to be spread, and it has to be shared, and it has to flow through you to more and more people. But here's where we get stuck. We give it to one special person, or we give it to only a special partner, or only to our family, and we feel it. We feel stifled in those ways. But there's a balance between, there isn't really a balance. Like, love is love, you know, and you got to give it. Now, there are parameters to how you give that love, of course, and not everybody quite recognizes that, that's for sure. But there, you know, like, there's commitments, and there's marriages that have to be respected, and boundaries that have to be respected, obviously. But love is love. And love feels so amazing. Love is ecstatic. Love is invigorating. Love is enlivening. And love is shared between sisters, soul sisters. Love is shared between people, men and women. But it's just energy, right? It's just energy. So what I want to encourage you today is with finding ways that you are tapped in to this feeling of love. This is what we're here to do. And all that stuff, all the story that I gave you before, I like to say I'm the warrior. I will go first. I will share my stories. I want to call you forward, though, to share your own and be a part of this conversation, to come together and to really support each other in this self-love mission, in this, and where you might be struggling, or what you've learned. Really, what have you learned? What do you have inside of you that you can share with all of us? Let me go through my questions here. All right, so one place that you can start is, what's going on in your life right now? These are some questions that you can write down. How is your health? And so if your health is great, what can you do more of? If your health is bad, what can you change? What can you eliminate? What can you add? What can you take away? How is your work life? Do you like your work? Do you have bigger goals, bigger dreams? If you do, what can you do today that is a choice that you can make that would move you one step closer to your dream? Who can you hire? What mentor can you hire that can help you? How is your love life? Are you happy? Here's one of the things, where can you build more connection in with your loved ones? What can you just begin to do that would be helpful for the relationship? Where can you praise more? Where can you complain less? Really just get clear on what you do want for your life, and what you're willing to give in order to just have that feeling. It's all about the feeling, and the more you get that feeling, the more that feeling will be a normal for you, and you'll be at that vibrational level where it will be attracted to you all of the time. But it is up to us. We are the way. It is up to us to cultivate that, to tap in on a day-to-day basis, okay? Now, what are your beliefs? Now, your beliefs are huge, because it is because of our beliefs that we have everything we have. If we believed better, we would have better. We would have the things that we wanted. So one of the things that I'm going to do, and I don't exactly know when, but I'm going to create this program that is all about helping you and helping us, myself included, to create the lives that we want. And I've done this numerous times for myself. And now I'm going to share the process of creation and what that looks like, and how to really tap into the energy and the lifestyle that gets you to those goals, okay? So, but before that, here's a couple things that you need to work on. What are your beliefs around money? What are your beliefs around relationships? What are your beliefs around your career, your self-worth? What are your relationships around what is your belief around your body, okay? And then you need to ask yourself, is it true? is this belief supporting my bigger vision or is it harming me? And if it's harming you, what can you do to change it? What is a new story that you can begin telling yourself? And you guys, this is self-love right here. This is probably in a nutshell what you need to take away from this module. What is the new story that you can tell yourself because you want something different? Now, this is going to be a ritual that you're going to have to get into place in order to really, really love yourself in a way that you're not yet used to loving yourself. You have to put in a ritual, a new belief system, a new affirmation of what you want, what you get to have, okay? So get really clear on your beliefs and get really focused on your new intention and what you're going to create for yourself. And so sometimes in the beginning, you have to tell a new story 100 times a day. And during certain times of the month, for some women when we're hormonal, it can be a bit harder to shift our thoughts and to shift the feelings. So you have to have these rituals in place on a daily basis where you wake up and you speak your mantras and you do the workouts and you say the mantras in the workouts. I am a beautiful work in progress. I have the love I desire. People are always loving on me. You know, like I have the money I desire. Money comes often and easy. Whatever your story is, wherever you need a little bit more, wherever you haven't manifested what you want, that's where we need to do the work, okay? So that's where we tell the new story. And you can even go into like describing your parents' belief system, and you can choose like, did I take that on? Did I take on my parents' belief system? If I did, it's time to change that and completely shift that and tell a new story and tell your story, tell your life the way you want it to be. And this is where a lot of people say, yeah, but this is the way that it is. And this is my truth. This is my reality. I know it is. But what do you want? And what's the harm in trying something new? What's the harm in believing in a vision? If the vision has a potential to manifest and just to start to change your life in a way. And here's the number one thing that people do when they start blocking themselves is they feel like they're going to leave people behind. And so when that feeling comes up, they self-sabotage because they don't want to leave their partners behind. They don't want to leave certain family members behind. So they literally start sabotaging themselves. But what you can say to yourself is, this is where I'm going. You're either coming with me or you're not. This is the way I'm believing and thinking about my life. You're either coming with me or you're not. But I'm doing this because I want this, this, and this. And so I'm going to continue affirming that this is how my life is. And, you know, when they start to see you getting these things or things happening in your life, they're going to come along. And it's just natural that this is going to happen. And sometimes it takes them a little bit longer to catch up with you, but I promise you, the moment things start happening for you, they're going to want it for themselves. And they're going to be like, what'd you do? Tell me. I want to know what you did. I want you to start to get rid of words such as I should do this or it's always this way. And one of the biggest things I want you to get rid of, and I want all of us to hold each other accountable to this. Yes, there is reality, but the longer you complain about reality, the more you keep that reality alive. So it is really on us to change the story, to tell the story that we want to have, okay? To really, really love yourself and to know that you're worthy of what you want. And just get into the energy of alignment. My tagline, my logo is live aligned. And our alignment is when we are tapped in to this self-love that is that divine connection to God, to source energy, to the universe. But you guys, it takes rituals. It takes daily rituals. It takes, let's say you have a bad phone call with somebody. How are you going to go realign? What are you going to choose instantly? What are you going to choose? You can see things as against you or for you, okay? So I think that's all I have. Nope, it's not. Let me say more. Okay, I'm gonna read this, okay? This is all bold. I wrote this last night. Separate yourself from what others think you should do. You need to follow your heart. And only you know what you've been through. You need to do what you need to do for you. Only you know what you like in life, and only you know what you don't like in life. You are a unique individual, and you are here to create something new that has never been created. You are here because you, my dear, whoever's watching this, are a unique individual, and the universe needs the gifts that you have learned. We need the lessons you've gained. We need you. You matter, and your purpose matters, and you have gifts to share. You have such light to share. There is a purpose for your life, and if you don't know what it is, but you have some feeling, start chasing that feeling. Start chasing that curiosity, and start going towards that thing. And you guys, we need each other. This is why we have each other's back, because you need tribe to say go. You need tribe to say, you guys, this is my goal. This is my dream. Will you please hold me accountable? Because I really want to do this. And I'm scared and I'm nervous and I don't know if I have it in me, but I need you because I want this. I want it. I'm scared. I don't know if I have it in me, but it's a calling on my heart. So I know that I have to do it, but I want to do it and I'm going to do it, but I need you. You guys, we need each other, okay? This is what we're here for. This is what we're here for. We have to lock arms and support each other in our bigger calling. That's why we're spiritual warriors, because not only are we warriors doing these warrior workouts and living this life and battling these days that sometimes are great and sometimes are difficult, but the spiritual part comes in right here where we know there's something bigger for us and we are going to choose to step into it. So if you show up for your mission, I have no water in here and I need it. If you show up for your mission, it's going to call you forward. It is going to pull you. It's going to demand a greater vision for yourself. It's going to demand a greater personality from yourself, it's going to demand that you believe in yourself and that you do chase these goals. And here's when we need tribe, when we're going, I don't believe, I don't know, like this didn't work out, and you need tribe. It's going to call you forward in a very uncomfortable way. So you have to get really good at getting through the uncomfortable stuff quicker and really going through whether the discomfort is lifting the hard weights to get you to a new body goal, or whether the discomfort is sending an email off to a publisher, or whether the discomfort is going into your boss and asking for a raise, or whether the discomfort is leaving your job because you have a different goal to pursue. It's gonna get uncomfortable, I promise you, and we need each other. And you guys, that's in this discomfort where you know you're going down the trail towards your dreams. You may not know what it looks like. It's calling you forward in a very, very powerful way, and it is going to force you to step up, okay? And it is so easy. This is self-love right here. It is so easy to be lazy. And Jamie, maybe this ties it all together for you. I hope so. It's good. It's easy to be lazy. It's easy to procrastinate when we're not feeling worthy of pursuing our goals, or we're not feeling. It's just so easy to procrastinate and put ourselves on the back burner. It just is. And you know what? This is where tribe comes in, and this is where accountability partners comes in, and this is where maybe we should do something in the group, like forming like a small mastermind within our group where we're doing like monthly goal setting sessions, and every week we check in. And you guys can do your own lives within the group, okay? So maybe we do something like this. Let's talk about this. I think I'm onto something. This is a really good idea. because it's so easy not to do these things that are self-loving, that are pulling us towards our bigger goals for ourselves. So yeah, another thing I want you to do is get really clear right now, today. Here's some homework. Get really clear on what you want your life to look like. What you want your life to look like, who you want in it, what kind of financial life do you want, what kind of financial freedom do you want, how do you want your relationships to be, how do you want your home life, what do you want your connections with your friends to look like, what kind of time are you willing to give to those connections, what kind of time are you willing to give to your work, what do you want your work life to look like. Get really, really, really crystal clear, and then go build a vision board, okay? And then also, what do you love about yourself? Get really crystal clear about those things that you love about yourself and that are your strengths, okay? And now, I want you to also get really crystal clear on the things that you don't love about yourself or that you perceive as weaknesses, but this is not an opportunity to bash ourselves. This is an opportunity for us to go, yeah, I'm just not very strong at this, and have self-compassion. And then where are the areas that you speak negatively to yourself? And get really, really clear on those areas so that when those come up, you don't beat yourself up, but you have self-compassion around those times. Where have you not honored yourself? Where have you abused yourself with food, alcohol, drugs, sex, overwork? Procrastination is self-abuse. I know this because the more I procrastinate on my dreams and my goals, the longer I suffer and the longer I keep my gifts from the world, you know? So that is abuse, all right? So get really crystal clear on these, and then let's just keep this conversation going. Let's really get into this in the group, okay? So you can do this in our main figureFIT page. Be a leader, be a mentor, be a guide. Go into our main page and just start this conversation based on what you've learned today. And maybe form your own masterminds in the group, and or you know, like just something on like your own day where you come in and I don't know, like let's just think about it, okay? And then let's talk about it. Maybe shoot me the idea and what you're thinking. But I just think that this is a really great idea for all of us to really come together as a bigger mastermind to really support each other in our goals, not just our body and our nutrition goals, but our bigger goals, our life goals, our love goals, our self-love goals, our financial goals, okay? This is what we're here for. So you guys, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you so much for being here. So much love to you. I'm so grateful for all of you, and I'm so happy that you are here. And you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the group, okay? Ciao, bye, bye.